If this was from God, I don't think he would be warning us at this level. But I do think what's interesting, lastly, there's a lot of conspiracy theories whether man can manipulate weather. I do know this: evil spirits work with man. And there are some very evil men who cooperate with evil spirits. And I find it interesting the path to where these storms are going. And God did say in the prophecies that these storms would be sent to interrupt the flow of our election process. So I think we've got to continue to cry out for the mercy of God.
This is where we're at, folks. A fundamentalist Christian pastor spreading the insane idea that hurricanes in the Southeast were sent by Democrats. Yes, Democrats, to punish one Donald Trump and his supporters, interfering with the upcoming election. It is ridiculous, it's dangerous, and yet this is what tens of millions of Americans actually believe, because they're plugged into a 24/7 right-wing disinformation machine. They're living in an alternate state of reality created by Fox News and their echo chambers, and it's tearing this country apart.
We did a story on a drug that makes the skin of mice transparent. That way you can see what's wrong with the body without having to cut it open. Oh. And that is progress. It's called transparency. Why don't we have that mentality here? If we had that mentality in the election system, make it transparent, then we don't have to cut it open after the election. The race is over, but the integrity of the election is still in question.
If you think it's fixed, you better vote, because we'll overcome. I want an election that they fixed. I just got more votes than they cheated. Boy, they fix elections that they're going to win by a landslide for practice. They'll do anything to stop them, anything, I might add. The problem is, who knows what cheating they're going to do now with the press, the stuff they're going to hide, the lies they're going to tell. They're not going down easy.
Meanwhile, Rudy Giuliani, who's in a free fall, is still grasping at MAGA conspiracies while his personal life crumbles. He's lost his multi-million-dollar New York City penthouse, along with his luxury goods and memorabilia, all to pay for the damages he owes to Georgia election workers Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, whom he defamed. And yet, even after being held accountable for spreading lies, he's still at it. He is still stuck in the MAGA delusion, locked in with no way out and dragging people down with him.
The Democrats see non-citizens, illegals, literally as their future power base. The Democrats and their left-wing allies, they are all about getting non-citizens, aliens, interjected and a part of our political system in America.
Then we have Cleta Mitchell, former Trump attorney and a key player in trying to overturn the 2020 election. She is one of the architects behind the effort to keep Georgia from certifying its results. But why is she still pushing these lies? Because they know that without these conspiracies, they have no future. They can't win without rigging the narrative. These election deniers aren't just on the fringe. They are the backbone of today's Republican Party. They built their entire strategy on dismantling democracy.
I think the Supreme Court may be called upon to have to step in and save the election results. And, just like they did in 2020, whether we like it or not, and I don't like the way they handled it, I think they could have resolved some of these things by hearing the case of all the states that sued.
This is all about maintaining power. People like Giuliani, Mitchell, and their cronies know they can't win a fair election, so they push these lies to justify suppressing voters, especially those who are young, black, or part of marginalized communities. It is a power grab, plain and simple. They know that a democracy where everyone votes is a democracy where they lose.
And you're trying to come up with county by county lists.
It's a list of suspicious voters. Again, not necessarily illegal or ineligible voters, but people that hit our suspicious list. If you've got folks that that were registered and they're missing information, and they were registered in the last 90 days before the election, and they've got Hispanic sounding last names, that probably is a suspicious voter.
But why would you single out Hispanic sounding last names?
In that case, I would have to listen to the full context.
We have activists, grassroots activists, who are handing these out in churches, in parking lots, in voting centers. If I have a non-citizen come in here and vote not the way I vote, guess what happens to my vote? It's gone, right? So it's protecting lawful voters to make sure that their votes and their political voices are not canceled out. And, you know, the notion that it's somehow racist, it's suppressionist is just ridiculous. We joke often that it is suppressionist. We're trying to suppress the people who are trying to vote unlawfully. And to me, the most egregious part of the DOJ trying to push non-citizen voting, because that's basically what they're doing, is it is a felony for those folks to vote. And if they do vote and they are found out when they apply for citizenship, they can be immediately deported, and their application for citizenship, even if they've been here for 40 years, is completely thrown out. And that's just taking advantage of those people in a way that should never happen.
Well, it's a really important subject. We're covering it closely.
Let's get real. Non-citizen voting is practically non-existent. It's a myth that Republicans have turned into a full-on boogeyman. But it is all part of their larger plan to make voting harder for people who don't support them. It's that simple. Voter ID laws, voter purges, gerrymandering. It's all about making sure as few people vote as possible. Why? Why do this? Well, because when more people vote, Republicans lose. That's just the truth. That's the trend. So they're using these fake fraud narratives to justify suppressing democracy.
Amid all of this nonsense that's come from the left and President Trump's understandable desire in the middle of a political campaign to say, I have nothing to do with that because the left's turned it into a liability, we can just shrug our shoulders and say, on November 6th, the page will turn to policymaking season. And not being arrogant here, that's our season. Yeah. It's still up to the president and vice president if they want to use our policies or our recommendations. That's always been the case. We're going to always do what we do because we have truth on our side.
And it's not just about elections. It's about weaponizing fear and division at every turn. The Republican Party has fully embraced conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement theory. Election denial, of course, culture wars over things like gender-affirming care in schools. These aren't just fringe talking points anymore. This is their entire platform. But the more they lean into these lies, the more they alienate the very voters they need to survive. This obsession with fear and culture wars is a dead-end strategy. It might keep their base fired up, but in the long run, they're burning bridges with moderate voters and younger generations who see right through the nonsense.